So a question I get a lot in my live streams is, how do I make Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 more realistic like yours? So today I'm going to run through the core add-ons I use to enhance my experience in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. Now let's start with planes. Now while Flight Sim 24 came with a really strong lineup of default planes, and I'm genuinely grateful for them, there's a bunch of extra goodness out there you're going to want to get your teeth into if you are a keen simmer. If you're an Airbus fan, I can't recommend the Phoenix A320 enough. It's one of the finest examples of an A320 you're going to find in the sim. And if you're super into it, you can also buy their expansion pack, which will give you the A319, aka the minibus, and the larger A321, each with their own characteristics. Phoenix say their planes in 2024 are experimental currently, and we're waiting on a full 2024 build of the plane. But even as things stand right now, I have had a great time with the Phoenix in Flight Sim 2024. If you fancy a bit of vintage Airbus, Any Builds also have the Airbus A300. A particular favourite of mine is their freighter variant. Any Builds have actually upgraded this aircraft to a full 2024 build, which is really nice. And as I sit here recording this week, Any Builds have launched the highly anticipated Airbus A350, a highly detailed version of a modern wide-body, long-haul capable Airbus. It's available both for 2020 and 2024, and get subbed if you're not already, because we're going to be flying this plane quite a lot on our live streams. We're also live on Twitch, so come find us over there if that's your thing. As for Boeing, we've got some default options that come with the sim out of the box, but you're really going to want to get your teeth into the PMDG Boeings if you're a serious simmer. Trouble is, we can't yet. PMDG were totally roadblocked by the sim for some time. Thankfully now this has been resolved and they've started work on bringing their planes into 2024 from 2020. We'll just have to be patient. I do love my PMDG planes though, so much so this is pretty much the entire reason I've kept 2020 installed, so I can get my much needed PMDG fix. So all the planes we've spoken about so far are payware aircraft, and if you'd like to give your wallet a break, you might want to check out the planes from Fly-by-Wire. They do the A320neo and the A380. Now, neither of these planes has official 2024 support from Fly-by-Wire, but there's nothing stopping you copying across the folders from your 2020 community folder into your 2024 community folder. I'm on the development build of the A380 and I've had pretty good luck so far with that. But this is all to say, highly detailed add-on aircraft are absolutely paramount to my simming experience, and I think they probably should be for you too. Let's talk about air traffic. ATC is one of the best ways to bring your sim to life. Trouble is, the default ATC in the sim is not great. For me personally, I use VATSIM, a online network of real pilots, real air traffic controllers. It's amazingly good. You need to have a base level of knowledge, and VATSIM even make you do a little test before you can use your account. But this is probably the one single add-on that has made the biggest difference to my simming. Being connected to the VATSIM network at a busy airport with other real pilots taxiing around, communicating with real human beings on ATC frequencies, it really does bring the sim to life. I spent the longest time hesitating on not doing it out of fear mostly, but my goodness, I'm so glad I did. Flying without VATSIM now just feels kind of pointless. It's like the stakes are raised when you're on VATSIM, so you up your game, you pay more attention, it's like everything matters way more. It's quite a buzz, to say the least, and it's an incredible learning journey as well. Now, if VATSIM isn't your cup of tea and you'd like an enhancement over the default ATC system, you've got a couple of options. We've got Beyond ATC and Say Intentions. You can talk to both through your mic and they talk back. Really clever stuff. Beyond ATC is a one-time payment, and if you want higher quality ATC voices, you can pay by the character spoken, and you can top up your account with more premium characters as you see fit. Or if you're happy with the standard ATC voices, they kind of sound like the voice maybe you'd hear on like your Amazon Echo, that kind of thing. You can just continue using those for free. Say Intentions does have a monthly fee, but it leans heavily into AI models, hence they do have to charge monthly for it due to all of their AI infrastructure going on in the back end. There is a direct cost to them, of course, having all of that running. Both are really interesting systems. Both are being developed at an incredible pace right now. I've done videos on both of them some time ago now. I even did a head-to-head, but keep in mind they're likely to have changed a lot since those videos. I really probably should circle back and check them out again. Let me know in the comments if that is something you'd like to see, but very, very much worth checking out, both of them. Now, if you're going to be using some flavor of air traffic control, whether it's VATSIM or Beyond ATC or say Intentions, you're going to want to see proper planes with proper liveries, and that's where FSLTL comes in. It's available for install via the fly-by-wire installer, and when you connect to VATSIM, that will allow you to see another pilot. Say if they're in an EasyJet plane, well, guess what? You see an EasyJet plane rather than just a blank white kind of livery. It's really nice, and it's free. Again, there's nothing like being connected to VATSIM when it's busy and you're seeing like real-world liveries taxiing around, chattering away on the frequency. It is brilliant. As for liveries for your plane, you can get a lot of them from flightsim.to, or in a lot of cases directly from the developer of your plane. Flightsim.to really is such a wonderful resource for add-ons, for liveries, and so much more. I'd really recommend you go check it out if you're not already familiar. Speaking of VATSIM, we need to talk about scenery. Now, in the early days of this channel, I really didn't get the point of spending money on scenery. Perhaps naively, I was shocked that anyone would do it at all. Keep in mind, at that time, I didn't use VATSIM. I would just career around the airport taxiways, going pretty much wherever I fancied. I would take off, I would fly, I would land, and I would find a gate, just randomly taxiing around and call it a day. However, it all started to make sense once I got onto VATSIM. The default airports are really quite clever in how they're generated. It's an incredible piece of tech. But aside from sometimes looking a bit weird, they can be incredibly inaccurate. Take the default version of Gatwick Airport. It is an absolute mile off of being accurate in terms of taxiway markings. Therefore, if you were to connect to VATSIM at Gatwick using the default scenery, you're going to make a right mess when you get your taxi instructions from ATC. I kind of have a little bit of a rule now that unless it's a fairly small, simple airport, like a runway with maybe one taxiway that comes off of that runway to the terminal, I won't go there on VATSIM unless I've got some scenery or I've checked out the default version first to ensure that it's okay. Now, the payware scenery devs often really go to town with the interiors of the airports and all sorts, and it can look stunning, especially as you're pulling up to a gate. You can sort of see through the glass and see coffee shops with people wandering around. That's all lovely, but it's a nice to have, not a must have. Most important for me is accurate runway markings, lumps and bumps in the runway, accurate ILS and PAPIs, accurate taxiways and gates. You don't have to go payware all the time. There are some amazing options for free on flightsim.to. One that springs to mind is the free version of Gatwick that's available on flightsim.to, and we use it extensively on this channel. There's also a great free version of Hamburg, Alicante, Bergen, Exeter, Aberdeen, just to name a few in the UK and Europe. And in some cases, you can get some handcrafted airports for free as part of the world updates that come with the sim. In the last UK and Ireland update, we got a great handcrafted version of Cork in Ireland, Cardiff in Wales, and Stansted in the UK for free. So keep your eyes open for world updates and keep your eyes open on flightsim.to. And if there are some big airports that you use a lot that's maybe your favourites, that's probably when I would start to think about maybe treating yourself to a payware piece of scenery. So we've got the planes, we're connected to VATSIM, we've got some scenery. What are we missing? Charts, that's right. So charts are unbelievably important for VATSIMing, or even just helping you to fly realistic departures and arrivals if you're not flying on VATSIM. For me, my go-to is Navigraph. Yes, you have to pay, but in my opinion, it is well worth the price for what it offers and then some. You get a suite of comprehensive charts, and they'll keep the nav data in your planes up to date. So the waypoints, departures, approaches that you'll see on the charts will also be in your plane's flight computer. It also means that if you're connected to VATSIM, you and the controllers, you'll all be singing off the same sheet. If you don't have the budget for Navigraph, there is an alternative, ChartFox, though it's not as complete as Navigraph, nor is it guaranteed to be up to date, but it might get you started. FlightSim 2024 actually comes with its own set of charts from Lido or Lido. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to be pronouncing that, so apologies in advance. I haven't checked these out properly yet. Another video for another time perhaps, but again, if you don't have the budget for Navigraph and just happy enough with what the Lido charts offer you, this could be another great place to start. For me though, I really like that Navigraph can be ran in a separate app outside of the sim, and it doesn't even need to be running on the same PC that your sim's running on. You could maybe have it running on an iPad off to your side or an iPhone. For me, I've got it running on my streaming PC with a touchscreen monitor. This way I can easily capture it and include it as an overlay so you guys can see what I'm doing when I'm taxiing to give you a bit of a clearer picture during our live streams. And to plan my flights, I use SimBrief. Now, SimBrief is actually owned by Navigraph, and you'll need a Navigraph account to use it, but rest assured it is free. They'll probably ask you to subscribe to Navigraph as part of the sign-up flow, but you don't have to. On the free tier, SimBrief uses an older AirAC cycle to generate flight plans, so using a paid-for Navigraph account to log into SimBrief with will get you flight plans generated by the latest AirAC data. The free or paid version though, SimBrief is an amazing flight planning tool that gives you a ton of control over your flight, from your payload to your fuel. It even has profiles built in for third-party aircraft. So you can tell it that you're going to be flying the Phoenix A319 with IAE engines, and it will plan the fuel accordingly. It's super nice. They also have a performance calculator available too. So if you're in a plane that doesn't have a takeoff or landing performance calculator, like say the fly-by-wire A380, you can use theirs. And given that you planned the flight with SimBrief, it can already take a lot of details from that flight plan and pre-fill in a lot of stuff for you. It's really nice. So when Microsoft Flight Sim 24 was announced, a big emphasis was put on to their career mode, as it was said that in 2020, a lot of people were super keen to try it, but quickly became bored once they'd kind of flown over their house, done a couple of landing challenges, etc. So in 24, we got a career mode, which I do think is a great idea. I just sort of don't have a need for it, as I've kind of built my own career mode and have done since 2020 in the form of flying for my virtual airline, Airlines. It's all done through a platform called New Sky. I made the airline on New Sky, and pilots with New Sky accounts can apply to join the airline. I set the routes, I lease us some planes, and we get flying. It's super cool. If you're flying a scheduled route for the airline, you have to use one of our leased planes. Let's say the airline has 3 737s leased, and one of our 737s is currently, let's say, at Gatwick. Someone then flies the Gatwick to Edinburgh route with it. Well, after that flight, that 737 is now in Edinburgh, and it will remain there unless somebody either brings it back to Gatwick or flies it on from Edinburgh to somewhere else. It's super cool. It tracks your flight. It gives you a score at the end of each flight, which that score then contributes to the airline's overall score. And you can earn the virtual airline some kind of virtual money. The idea being that all the different virtual airlines hosted on New Sky can compete to see who is the most profitable. For me, though, the coolest thing is that it removes the analysis paralysis of like, where do I fly? Instead, you can just log on and see where your flying services would be most helpful. Maybe someone has just flown a leg from Heathrow to Ibiza in an A321, and you could help out the airline by flying it back to Heathrow. New Sky is free. I'd encourage you to get an account and give it a whirl and come join the flying circus that is Airnaut. But yeah, that's kind of why I don't feel the need to use the career mode in Flight Sim 24. As cool as I think it is, we're kind of sorted with this kind of stuff. As for ground services such as loading your aircraft and pushback, I use GSX. Now, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with GSX. When it works, it's great, but I do tend to run into my share of snags with it. I mostly use it for loading up my aircraft and pushing back from the gate, as well as having a marshal guide me into my gate upon arrival. It's well adopted, though, throughout the simming community, with some planes offering their own integrations with it. For example, the Phoenix, just by flicking on your beacon light, that tells GSX to begin the pushback procedures, which is really nice. Airports have profiles for GSX to help you get realistic pushbacks from whatever gate you start at, hopefully not leaving you stranded in the grass. So while I sometimes do get angry at GSX sometimes on stream, and I do give it a hard time, I think it's fair to say I would struggle to get by without it. And that right there is my main set of tools that I use to take my simming to the next level. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Maybe I've missed out something. Maybe you think, oh yeah, but you didn't mention that. Let us know in the comments. Share the knowledge, help out the community. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. See what it is that makes your sim what it needs to be for you. I'm going to leave this one here though, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Get sub to the channel, hit the like button. It helps out a ton. And of course, we are streaming on Twitch now. So if Twitch is your thing, feel free to come and join us over there. But until next time, look after yourselves, be good to each other. And as always, happy flying.